Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Cox, and I'm the host of the New America Movement. Thank you for tuning in this evening. I have my co-host, Jordan. Jordan, say hello.
What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing this evening?
Oh.
Well, hold on. We got technical difficulties already.
Oh,
so, first of all, thank you guys for tuning in. Please comment, like, share, and follow New America Movement. Guys, look, we can't do this without y'all, and thank you guys for tuning in. Please comment, like, share. Thank you guys. Let's get this show on the road.
Okay, well, it sounds great. We have a special guest with us today, Sam Manley. Sam, it's good to have you on the show.
Appreciate you inviting me.
I'm sure a lot of our listeners know you've been around the block a while.
I have. I've been involved in local, state politics, some national politics for a little while, but yeah, mostly state and local.
Well, you're out of Greenville, South Carolina, and that's been a hotbed for the party splitting. We have the Jeff Davis crowd, the MySCGOP, that have been pounding the elected officials. Let's get into some of this because I think a lot of our listeners are trying to struggle on the fact of why are we so divided? How do we fix it? Who's right? Who's wrong? What's going on in Greenville County? Because I think some of the stuff that I'm seeing in Greenville is happening right here in Pickens County. We've got similar the same issues. Jump on that a little bit and tell our listeners what's going on with this.
Well, I mean, it's true. It's happening in Pickens County. It's happening in Oconee County. It's happening it was happening in Horry County. We had the state convention. The MySCGOP organization has tried to infiltrate a lot of the state county parties and have divided a lot of the county parties, including Pickens and Greenville. And it's due to their tactics of how they do things. They say one thing and they do another. And that's the term that they use toward everybody else. They don't attack rhinos or Democrats. They attack all Republicans and invite Democrats to come speak at their meetings.
Give me some information on that because I did hear a rumor about that. What was that all about? Because I want our listeners to understand that politics have shifted a little bit different than the old school GOP. Now you have a Republican Party that is really two parties. You have the South Carolina GOP, the MySCGOP, and this has actually become a national problem. It's in Washington State, it's in Idaho, it's in
low infiltration of the Democrats coming into GOP. And I mean, I ran for county chair last year, almost a year ago, for the Greenville County chair for the Republican Party. And just 2 days before the election, I discovered that the person I was running against for chair was a lifelong Democrat from California by way of Chicago, had donated to several Democratic organizations while in California. And here's the thing that got me is the fact if she was been up front and open about it and campaigned on it and said, hey, this is what I once was, this is where I'm at now, that would have been one thing. But she kept it hid, and it was discovered. And the whole time through the whole campaign of us running for the state chair, it was I left California because of the political environment. Well, she didn't tell us that she helped create the political environment in California. I mean, she donated to Hillary Clinton, she donated to John Kerry, she donated to John Edwards, donated to several congressional Democratic campaigns, worked for Dow, who donated all their money to Hillary Clinton. So the list goes on, which raises a red flag. And listen, I'm for anybody that's got a change of heart and their brain starts working and they leave that side. But am I ready to throw the keys to the GOP chair to them? No, not hardly.
Well, that's the interesting thing because we're seeing the same thing in Pickens County.
Right.
Being a part of the Republican Party, I don't know when we've been more divided. It's almost like there's this line of hatred. Almost like it's them against us. Well, what do you think the end of this is?
So let me clarify on that. And I'm sure you probably already kind of know, but it's the same thing. It's literally just how can we get who's elected now out so we can put our guy in, and the way they go about it is just. I mean, I say it all the time. It's what the left does. I mean, it's let's slander our opponent and make lies up about them, make whatever it is up about them, push that narrative, talk about how good our candidate is and what they're going to do. but they never do it. Like you said, they never follow through with it. Half the time, they don't even know the answer to the question, let alone the question itself. And so, we see this up here, and we're like, how can this even be happening? Like how can voters just not see through this? And from what I've gathered, and you can tell me if I'm wrong or not, or if you see anything different, is that they just blatantly what I would call deceive voters.
They do.
Okay, so go ahead, expand on that.
It's a deception of deceiving the voters, deceiving people you're bringing into the party. And some of the people that they bring in catch on very quickly, and they're like, this is not what they're selling me. This is not what I bought in for. Some people just get in and they're like, why is there so much fighting? You say you're for conservative people, but yet you're attacking conservative candidates. So why are you doing that? Well, like I said, what they're saying is not what they're doing. It's basically an obstructionist type thing. It's like they're here to neutralize the party itself, and it doesn't work very well. I mean, for instance, the Greenville County GOP now is joined teams with William Timmons. 2 years ago, they couldn't stand William Timmons.
I saw that. I saw that, and it floored me. Because what you said 2 years ago, they couldn't stand
William Timmons. He was the target. He was the epitome of rhino.
Yes,
by their words.
They actually yes, correct, yes.
And now they can't. And it's personal reasons why they joined Williams. It's financial reasons. It's basically about survival and money. Right now, they don't raise money for candidates. They raise money to pay the rent on a building that is paid off. So what are they doing with the money?
I was about to say, where's it going?
Well, that's a good question. It's a good question. And they put people in charge of emails. They put people in charge of the live streams that they do. They circled the wagons. They are doing exactly what they accused the administration of before them of doing it worse and being worse than what they were. And so it's I spent 17 years in law enforcement. I can recognize red flags, and there's a big red flag in their tactics. I told Jeff Davis to his face in several meetings, we had a meeting before I decided to run for chair, or right at the point when I was running for chair, the tactics is the problem. What you're saying the right thing. You're saying everything that we're saying, but your tactics. You can't have a person come in to your meetings, invite, let's say, Adam Morgan, who's running for Congress. You can't have him come to your meeting and give his speech and talk and then attack him in an email the next morning. Can't butter up to his face and then turn around and stab him in the back the next morning.
Yes.
One thing that I was able to do when I announced that I was running for county chair, I was able to pick up the phone and call every local representative, all conservative ones, and talk to them and had their support. Had major endorsements. You can't get any more conservative than Lee Bright. Got his endorsement. Got Adams' endorsement. Got Sheriff Hobart Lewis's endorsement. And it's just and it's like it's by design. It's not by accident. It's by design. They're turning the cart upside down for their own benefit. And I think the main objective is to just neutralize the party itself under the flag. And they've got some people that have just not woke up to what's going on. Do they have ECs they have the majority of ECs? I think they do. They've got some ECs that are I hate to say drinking the Kool-Aid, but just haven't woke up to what's going on. They want to get involved. They think they're involved with an actual legitimate Republican Party. As far as I'm concerned, the Greenville County Party is not legitimate. It is it's a farce and it's a fraud.
Same thing here in Pickens County.
Yeah.
Same problem.
Here's my thing. I'm pretty basic. I want more money in my pocket, not government. I want my constitutional rights protected. I'm going to vote for the candidate that's got a clear conservative voting record, not one that's going to compromise with Democrats. I mean, just like the video that Adam Morgan that resurfaced of him on the House floor talking to Representative Rutherford, you should be listening to your constituents, not the lobbyist. Well, the Greenville County GOP is going to come out and publicly say this exact same thing, but yet they're going to turn around and attack Adam Morgan anyway. He's saying what you've been preaching. So why is he enemy number one? We definitely need somebody like that.
So you're saying the Greenville County Republican Party is anti-Morgan?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Really? And he's such a conservative.
Well, we don't have conservatives running the party.
I was about to say this is the thing. This
But
is
they
where,
sort of hide behind that, even though they're not
Well,
conservative.
listen, the MAGA movement is just a mask for them.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to go
100%.
door knock for Trump, and we're MAGA 100%, and we're going to do all this, but your actions don't speak it.
dude. I remember with the MySCGOP, they would talk about how they had all these people coming in to speak and all this stuff like, oh, y'all better come. We got, Donald Trump Jr. Or we got, this person coming in, this person coming. And everyone would get there and they would say, oh, well, you know what? He couldn't make it, or something would happen. And it's like they almost did it, or they did it on purpose to get people there. And then it's like they went through their stuff of what they would do and how what they would call, education and stuff on educating people.
There's some education going on there, but it's not conservative.
It's
education.
not conservative. No,
Yeah,
it's not. And what you hit the nail on the head with you. We agree on everything. It's your tactics. Like we all agree.
Well, we say we agree on everything. That they're flying under that flag. I don't
Right.
think they agree with it.
Right.
Because it's not beneficial to them.
Right.
There's a personal vendetta there between Jeff Davis and the Morgan family.
Oh, there's a personal vendetta between Jeff Davis and everybody.
Hey, listen, I was the guy's press secretary for a year, for 6 months, I guess, maybe 6 months, and came in. I was big friends with Presley Stutz. Me and Presley had many midnight conversations about a lot of things. He was successful with the Rock the Red
Yep.
movement. Me and Presley saw eye to eye. In fact, when I ran for sheriff in 2016, Presley and the Tea Party were one of the first to
Presley was a good man.
Yeah, he was. And they were one of the first to endorse me when I ran for sheriff in 2016. But we've since strayed from the Tea Party movement with the Graham County Republican Party.
So to Presley,
Yes.
when he was alive and God rest his soul, you could tell almost like with the Linwood thing. Whenever Linwood came, it was kind of the end of the end for him, and so you could tell he knew the ship was sinking with him, and like everybody was telling him like, hey, you got to stop with this guy. This guy's too far. He's not what you think he is. He actually would even say like, I know I'm just now, if I quit now, I'm done. Yeah. Like I know, but I went down too far, so I got to ride the ship down with it. And it's sad that he got to that point where he finally realized like, I probably should have took a step back and did some things different, because he was the only real voice of reason when it came to that. And once he left,
Right.
it was now it's give Jeff Davis the reins, and it is ran into the ground. It is, like you said, it's not a Republican Party, it's a fraud party.
Well, and here's the thing, like I said, I was the press secretary. I was there during when we had the medical freedom issues going on. We were in the middle of COVID. I was for medical freedom. Nobody needed to take the jab unless you wanted to. And so protecting those rights, and I was there during that point. But during the thing, I wasn't in on the behind the closed doors decision making. And what started raising red flags with me prior to me leaving and resigning from the press secretary was the fact that there were people that I respected and knew that were saying I'm done. And I'm like, why? What's going on? And they're like, tactics from Jeff Davis, how he talks to people, how he's working with people, what he's doing, and what he's saying. And so, I didn't do that in the beginning, but it kept on, and I was like, there's something here to this. And then I started seeing things, and so luckily, at the point in time, I'd been asked to possibly run for coroner of Greenville County. Me and the sheriff had talked about it, and so that was going to be something I was going to partake, and I didn't want to be the press secretary for the Greenville County Republican Party while I'm getting ready to run a campaign. And so I exited and resigned, and they don't have one. They didn't have one coming after me. I don't know if they couldn't get anybody to take the job or what it was, but there wasn't one. Because I would go on the radio. I had a good relationship with all the radio hosts, Joey Hudson, Charlie James, all those guys. I could call in. I could talk to those guys about the conservative issues. And I'm conservative to the core, but you're not going to fool me, and I'm not going to help you with a false flag of being conservative. Right. Like I said, if the current chairwoman is actually a conservative. She's got to prove it. And no longer than she's been here, I wasn't ready to hand over the keys to the Republican Party to her. And I was asked to run. I didn't jump out and say, hey, I'm going to run against her just for the heck of it. I had several people, conservative people that I respected, come to me and said, are you willing to step up and run? And this is 3 weeks before we had the convention. And I talked to my family about it, prayed about it. I did it. 3 weeks. I lost by 33 votes. I went in 3 weeks before and took half the votes. And that's because I went in and I was talking what our mission needed to be. Our mission needs to be supporting conservative candidates, not personal, but supporting conservative candidates and not endorsing candidates before the primaries are over with.
Oh, yeah.
The primaries are not even over with, and they're all in behind Timmons.
I'm telling you, dude.
And that's not their job. They don't know what their job is. Their job is, well, they know what their job is. They just refuse to do their job. And their job is to cause an obstruction.
Yeah, and to me, that is the biggest thing is the fact that we got to and this is the thing. They always everybody complains about, Democrats moving to South Carolina. We were a red state, now we're a purple state. Mm-hmm. We're but it's like you caused this. You know what I mean? Like because you divide the Republican Party down the middle, you turn off moderates, you turn off people that would be swinging to your side potentially, right. and now you turn off these all of not just your own party, but you're turning off independents. You're turning because they're like you said, they're coming in and why are y'all fighting? What's all this going on? We're all conservatives here. Right. We all believe the same stuff. We may have different opinions on how to go about it, but we all believe in the same concept and the same thing of unifying America, getting back to our core values. All of this stuff. But it's like you said, it's personal.
Right.
It's personal, and to me, not only is it personal, it's once they get that power, they refuse to let it go.
Well, they've got that limited power because they don't have a big following.
Right.
They'll say that they do, but they don't have a big following. And here's the thing. They want to hold candidates accountable. How can you hold them accountable if you can't get them to come to your meetings? Why would you come to a meeting when you know you're going to come to a meeting, then the next morning you're going to have an email come out and trash you and twist your words or take personal jabs at you. So why would you come to a meeting? That was the response that I got out of a lot of candidates or a lot of representatives that I talked to. Conservative candidates have conservative voting records who have gone down to Columbia, like the Freedom Caucus, and have taken up for the rights of their constituents. And they were not willing to work with the leadership of the Greenville County Party, whether it be Jeff Davis, Yvonne, or anybody attached to him that was carrying his flag or carrying the flag of this deception that they were carrying. That's one of the things with Yvonne. Like I said earlier, I believe that people have a change of heart and they come around, they may have voted bad or whatever, but she actually donated money to these people. It was and she never donated to any Republicans in California. I could have seen if she donated Republicans in California and it was for naught. Right, but she never donated the money to anybody that was on the Republican side.
Here is a biblical story.
Yeah.
When Paul in the Bible went to Damascus, or his name was Saul,
right.
He was converted. He saw the light, had what we call an epiphany with Christ,
right.
And he has a complete turnaround in his life. So he goes back to the early church, right. And everybody's scared to death of him. Nobody trusts him. And it took years. I forgot the time. I think it was like 7 years before the early church would accept him as one of their own because he had done so many destructive things.
Right.
The point I'm making is that there is a season that you have to go through for people to have confidence in you that you're going to do the right thing. You just don't do that conversion and then you hand somebody the keys to your home.
Well, yeah.
And I think that when you see people like Yvonne who come to power when they have for so long been a leftist, you can't just say, okay, I think this lady is converted over to the Republican Party. We can trust her. Well, you need years before you can make that stand, have any credibility. Right. And I think when you do that, it just divides the party. Because one of the things I'm seeing in Pickens County is that not only is there two parties, there's a line of hatred there between the two that doesn't need to be there. And while we have this little cat fight going on, the Democrats are building power. This eventually will destroy our credibility among the voters in our county. And my prediction is that any Democrat with any credibility steps up to the plate, he's going to have a lot of influence over a county because there's so much infighting and hatred and backbiting. And it's almost like the Republican Party wants to get new people in only to control them, only to be able to put their foot on the neck and say, we helped you get in, now you got to do what we tell you to. And that just never works.
They want to fool people to gain power and keep power over the party and stay in their position. Listen, Yvonne wasn't elected to help run the party. Yvonne was elected to make a path so Jeff could run the party from the EC position.
Come on now.
No, I'm going out on a stretch there.
Come on now. No, that's the truth.
That is the truth.
That is
that's
exactly.
Exactly.
I say it. Come on now.
That's exactly the truth. And here's the state Republican Party is sitting back laughing. They're not going to intervene and straighten this mess out because they're enjoying that the conservatives are being split in the upstate, which is the most powerful, the most conservative area of the state of South Carolina is in the upstate of South Carolina, and so they're sitting back. It's like a race at Talladega. You're running third, and you're going to watch the first two cars wreck each other, so you can go on and win the race.
Yep. So you think Columbia, is this why Columbia will not intervene with some of these?
That's my opinion. That's my opinion. Why they haven't come in and decertified the party. They haven't come in and put any censorship. They haven't stepped in and really done nothing to help.
Columbia won't do.
No, they're not, because we got establishment. We're fighting establishment Republicans and infiltrators.
Yes.
Inside the party. Yes. I mean,
I
said, I'm all about putting the pieces together and putting patterns together. This came out not long ago, 2016. Jeff Davis's wife donated to Bernie Sanders in 2016.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Donated to Bernie Sanders in 2016. But yeah, they were all Trump in 2016.
Oh, mega, man. They was mega. Hey, mega. Oh, my God.
I don't know if you guys saw the video where Adam Morgan sort of confronted her it was at a meeting, or she confronted him or whatever. But
oh, yeah, I did see that one.
And I mean, she boasted about not being a citizen.
Yeah.
But yet she's in charge of the email. She has a playing role inside the Greenville County GOP.
So everybody understands.
Yes.
There's a Yvonne, former Democrat, potentially still a Democrat, ran as a Republican, didn't tell nobody she was a Democrat or voted Democrat, gave money to Democrat
party. She just said she hated the political environment in California and moved here for a better...
And moved here, and then they gave her the keys to the kingdom.
Yep.
And now she's the chair. And then you have Olga, who's not even a citizen, and bragging about it. And I'm sorry, I'm just trying to find the logic in what's going on here. How are you listening to this show and not scratching your head as like, these are the same people that are calling elected officials rhinos, that are then coming in, putting in Democrats as the same. Come on now.
Okay, here's the thing about it. It's almost like it's intentional to divide the party. If that's the case, where do you see that on a national level at? Biden and Obama have done nothing but divide the country up.
Right.
They started the racist movement in America. We were, my opinion, doing well with it. When Obama became president, this is when this began, the destruction of America and the division over racism. And now we have the border crisis. We have money going to Ukraine. We have issues pretty much all over the world. You have the Afghan issue where 13 soldiers were killed. And he just pretty much said, let's get out today. We're not going to stand around and do this in a slow manner, logical, methodical manner. And so I guess the real thing here is when you look at Biden and you see how destructive he was, when you look at the Republican Party, you see the same map. It's almost like anything they can do to divide and kill, they're on board with it.
They're from the same playbook.
It's the same playbook.
Yes.
It is the same playbook.
Here's my thing. You can't get any more conservative than Adam Morgan. He's the chairman of the Freedom Caucus. There's a reason that the Freedom Caucus exists, and it's because of the establishment Republicans, the Rhino Republicans, whatever you want to call them, and the Democrats did not want transparency in Columbia. They want you to vote them in, but they don't want you to see what they're doing. The Freedom Caucus started because they would not sign the pledge saying that they wouldn't campaign against rogue or dishonest Republicans who are doing things that they shouldn't be doing down in Columbia. And these 17 or 18 Freedom Caucus guys that said, we're not falling in line with that. That's not what we were sent here to do. And so hence the Freedom Caucus is born. How could you not be, if you're a Republican chairwoman, or if you're Jeff Davis, an EC, or whoever, and you're part of the Greenville County Republican Party as an EC, how could you not promote that and champion that? But they don't. But there's an email. I mean, but in the same email, we're pro Freedom Caucus, and then 2 lines later they'll attack Adam Morgan.
Yeah, it's about control. It's about getting somebody in your camp that you can tell them what to do so you can stay in power. That's what we see in Pickens County.
Right.
Okay, let me ask you this question.
Sure.
What about the bill that I think was passed this week about the forcing people to take COVID shots? Now, if
The health czar?
Pardon?
The health czar bill? You talking about that?
Yeah. I think the way it was written, anything else like COVID that comes up in America, the South Carolina has the right to force you to take that shot.
Well, and this is what it is. Back when COVID happened, the governor overstepped his bounds when he let the state of emergency go past. It's extended. He's only allowed to do that for, I forgot how many days, 14 days, maybe a little bit longer than that, but it's only a certain amount of time that state of emergency can exist, and then the House and the Senate have to come back in and vote. Well, they didn't do that, so he kept extending it unconstitutionally, and kept doing it. So this bill is basically the representatives down there trying to take the monkey off their back and put it on one person's back so they can blame one person. They're basically trying to create a scapegoat. And it's an unconstitutional bill. This czar does not have the constitutional power to tell any sheriff in the state of South Carolina who to arrest or what to do, period. The sheriffs get their constitutional power from the United States Constitution, not from the state legislature. Now, if the sheriff does something and breaks the law, this is an unconstitutional law with the health czar. And just by this, and they tried to change this where this guy didn't have as much power, but it got voted down. So it's still unconstitutional no matter what the votes are. But unelected bureaucrat health czar cannot tell Hobart Lewis, Chad McBride,
Future
Chuck Wright, or any constitutional sheriff in the state of South Carolina, hey, this business won't close, or because at my say so, or this person won't take their shot, so they need to be arrested. Can't do it. Won't do it.
Well, what if they passed the law? Because my understanding on it was that the sheriff could be fired, or that there could be repercussions from officers.
Well, that's what they're trying to. There could be repercussions for the sheriff, but like I said, how can there be repercussions when the sheriff, the czar, doesn't have the constitutional? He doesn't have that power, so there's no repercussions. It's an unconstitutional law. This makes it unconstitutional just for the fact that they give him this power over police. Chiefs are a little different. Chiefs are hired and fired by city administrators and city councils. Sheriffs are constitutionally elected. So you've got a guy that they're going to appoint who's probably going to be a lobbyist, who they said can't be a lobbyist for the last 5 years. Okay, yeah, okay, that makes me feel all warm and fuzzy. So you've got a czar who's going to be basically the say all to end all. Nah, not at my house.
Yeah, exactly. Well, when I looked at that bill, I thought, wow, that would be very unconstitutional. And I know that most people, at least in the South, in the Midwest, would certainly not allow anything like that to take place on their front doorstep,
right?
Especially enacted by a local deputy or something, because how much unconstitutional can something like that be?
Well, I hope that we never have to be confronted by this type of legislation, or that we never have another pandemic where we have to test this to see how it goes. But I think you're going to see a bunch of big pushback from sheriffs and from citizens.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, I'm pro law enforcement as the day is long.
Yes.
I support law enforcement. I gave a lot of my years in public service to law enforcement. But at the same time, I'm pro-Constitution, and I'm pro-family, and I'm pro-neighborhood, and I'm pro you having your constitutional rights. There's nothing better that was passed in the constitutional carry. It was just passed. Yeah, there's some quirks in it. But it takes away you having to ask the government for permission for a right you already have. The United States Constitution says your rights to carry a gun should not be infringed. It doesn't say if you have the right training. And let me tell you, CWP training is just enough to tell you exactly which end of the bullet the gun comes out of. Mm-hmm. I've done the CWP training. I've done massive training when I was in law enforcement.
I've done it.
And so if you think somebody that's got a CWP card is highly trained,
they're not.
And they're not.
That's so when I took my CWP, you're exactly right. He actually told me, he was like, this is just to pretty much teach you how to shoot. Like just to shoot it straight. Like you got to hit this target 15 times, and that you pass.
And pass the test on.
And then he was like, but there's a class above this and a class above this that'll teach you how to, clear a room the right way. Someone breaks in your home, it'll teach you how to reload. It just all these different things.
Well, there's people that go get their CWP that never shoot again,
and they never shoot it. I was about to say, and so I was like, well, why? I was like, is that class ever like full, or do I need to sign up now? Right. He was like, no. He was like, hardly anybody comes to it. Yeah. And I was like, well, why? And he was like, well, because once they get their CWP, they're gone, and chances of them ever shooting that gun again are hardly slim to none. Like they'll go home, they may carry it for a month or two. After that, they'll put it in a thing and never carry it again.
Right. You have your avid trainers and shooters. Listen, your common thug doesn't go out to a range and practice shooting. They don't buy guns legally. No. They don't. They don't go through the process of the right way of owning a gun and operating a gun. What this bill does is basically levels the playing field and lets the citizens have a right to defend themselves.
Right.
Because there's not enough police out there. There's not one police officer per person. Right. So there's not enough police out there to protect you at all times. Your family, your personal security and responsibility to protecting yourself is with you.
Is with you. Absolutely.
Is with you.
Yes,
that's where that's the first line of defense.
Yes.
Most of the time, the police when they get there, they're cleaning up the mess.
Absolutely.
Very rare can I say in my law enforcement career that I actually rolled up on crimes in progress. I had I had a horseshoe. I did roll up on a few things that were in progress and took action, but most of the time you're pulling up to take a report and finishing up an investigation and finish the aftermath.
Because you can only get there so quick.
You can only get there so quick, and the chances of you being at the right place at the right time
is and the whole thing about the constitutional carry in the first line of defense is 100% correct. The fact that, and especially the world we live in today, the world we live in today, it used to be where you could go get gas and not even have to close your doors, lock your doors or anything, take your keys out. It was like just a whole different. Now you got to look over your shoulder and make sure ain't nobody, trying to come rob you. It's just the crime in some of these cities are absolutely out of control. But the problem that I see is that if we don't get a grip in our Republican Party, if we don't get a grip in South Carolina and say, look, we're not going to keep doing this. Right. We're not going to keep going down this road, because if we do, what's to stop us from turning into that city? What's to stop us from turning into, because the way I look at it, the more these Democrats see us infighting in South Carolina and saying, they're electing Democrat, or they're putting Democrats in positions. They're doing this and that. They're having, and the more they come down here, the more they're going to be emboldened to get elected, to go and run for offices and do stuff like that. And if we're not united as a Republican Party, how do we combat that? If we can't even get along together, how are we going to combat the what I would call the real enemy, quote unquote?
Listen, here's the thing: there's no perfect candidates, out there, none. So there's a lot of blame that can go around. It's one thing, you got the people who are perpetrating the lie or telling the lie, but it's up to you whether you believe it or not.
I think a lot of it is we have many citizens that'll watch CNN, Fox News, but they really don't get the gist and understanding of how politics work. I think a lot of people are just tied into identity politics, and rather than taking a personal view on how you want it to work and how you think it needs to fit your own personal ideology, I think they just go with whatever grandma says or neighbor tells them. And I think we need more educated citizens in our country on why you pick a candidate and why you don't pick a candidate. What I have seen in the Pickens County Republican Party, they will elect anybody. They will put anybody up just so that that candidate they're fighting loses his authority. Right. And that's the scary part about how if you ran a business like that, you'd be gone.
Right.
I mean, I run a pretty good sized company, and if I use the tactics that the Pickens County Republican Party uses, or MySCGOP, Greenville County Republican Party, I would clap my business in a year. And to say that here is a person, we're going to put them in power, we're going to take this person out, only for the sole purpose of saying, I want control over that individual, I think is an atrocity. I do agree there are no perfect candidates. It's impossible to find a perfect person who's going to vote because the ideology among the constituents is so different.
The problem we see, there is no perfect candidate. Nope. The problem we see is the fact that they want you to agree with them 100%. And if you agree with them 99%, you're not good enough. And so it's like they want you to be perfect for them. They want you to be that 100% loyal, not educated, not experienced, but loyal. And that's it. And that's all they want to make sure. Once you get in office, get elected, you're going to do what we tell you to do.
And it just doesn't work that way. You can't do that.
It's a problem.
What you're going to have is a group of elected officials in South Carolina that have absolutely no ability to do what needs to be done. So you're creating this vulnerability for the county, for the city, for Greenville.
Right.
And so I think the end line on this, there has to be a time and a place when we figure out a way to unite. We come together with some common goals that we can move forward on. But if you have a party member that doesn't want to do it, you need to get them out.
That's what I'm saying, because I don't
think... You got to take these people out.
I don't think we can...
Instead of them trying to take us out, we need to take them out. You need to infiltrate their ECs and their precincts and say, hey, there's a better way to do this.
Yeah.
But the problem is, and I think this is how this is sold, you tell me if you think I'm wrong, people have such little confidence in the government. When most people see government, they just say, I don't trust them. So even on a local level, elected official, whether you're county councilman, a city council person, mayor, whatever you may be, most of the public say, they use the slang rule, well, every politician is a crook. And so I think by virtue of the fact that you're elected to a position, you're already a target among a certain amount of voters in America, especially if you accuse them of being a crook. For example, one of the reasons that Bush lost the race was because the left, well, I don't want to say the left, but the Pickens County Republican Party leadership pretty much accused him of being a criminal, a crook.
Said he took $80,000.
Yeah, and that sells. I mean, when you have people at home and they hear that rumor and someone says, oh, well, let me tell you what this guy's doing. But the problem that was never true. That was a lie perpetrated by leaders in that party.
Yeah, they did an audit and everything, never found anything wrong.
If he's committed a crime, why is he not arrested?
Yeah.
And so my argument, why are you being such a destructionist and a divider? It's almost like it's an occult. You buy into this ideology and it becomes almost like your religion, and you go to bed at night praying to that.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
Well, it's like we invited Bob Fedley on the show, and he's the chair of the Pickens County Republican Party. And we were like, hey, we want you to come on because I think the people would love to hear what you got to say about, the reason you picked the candidates. He's talked about the planning commission. Like, he talked about a bunch of these little different stuff. And I'm like, you're saying these things, and I'm sure they would love for you to come on and actually express what you actually mean. What agendas do these people have that you're claiming they have? All that stuff. Well, he just responds with, I was offended when your dad ran for mayor and said people from up north were moving to the south. So it's like, so now we're saying we're offended. So now you're too offended to come stand on what you actually believe. So it's this disconnect of, while you're saying you want a debate, keep that in mind, while you're saying you want a debate with facts and all this stuff like that, but then get offered to and then you turn it down because you're offended. Well, nothing will ever get done with that.
Right.
Because you will always, if that offends you, I offend you. If that offends you, everybody offends you, because that's just a fact. They are moving from the north to the south. Right. They are moving from the west to the south. They are moving here. And so the point that we're making is that at some point, these guys got to go. They just got to go. Because I don't think we can come together and unite under what they're trying to push. They're trying to push destructive, everybody's bad but us. And that right there is a system of failure, because once you get in office, guess what you got to be? You got to be perfect. If you demonize the guy for overdevelopment, the last administration, and you come in and there's all of these houses being built under you, they're going to demonize you. You can't just sit there and have your cake and eat it too. You can't run on, oh, well, I'm against this, and then get in there and you do nothing about it.
This is exactly what Adam Morgan was saying in that clip. You got to listen to your constituents.
Got to.
If you're going to build a Waffle House on Main Street, Greenville, and your constituents say, no, we don't want the Waffle House, then you vote against the Waffle House being built.
Correct.
Period.
Correct.
Doesn't matter if it's going to bring 10 jobs or if it's going to bring 5 jobs or whatever. If your constituents say, we do not want the Waffle House and this is the reasons why we don't want it, you represent your constituents.
Yes.
You should be fearful of your government. You should second guess your government. Government has a role. Federal government has a role. State government has a role. And it's not to interfere in your lives, but to help in your lives. And what did Ronald Reagan say? One of the worst things you can ever hear is, "I'm from the government. I'm here to help."
Here to help. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Facts.
Definitely.
Yes.
That's factual. So you've got to be able to second guess your government and your elected officials. If they're on their own thing, running their own race after they get elected, you need to get rid of them. You need to find a true representative. And listen, conservatives in the upstate are between a rock and a hard place right now, between infiltrated county parties like Greenville and Pickens and some others, and the establishment Republicans in Columbia, who are giving donations and having all the Freedom Caucus people are being challenged. Just like over in, not far from here, Thomas Beach, who's one of the most conservative guys, just like Adam Morgan, he's being challenged by a pro-choice Republican. Really?
Wow.
Make that make sense.
Can't make it make sense.
I mean,
pro-choice Republican who's going to run against the Freedom Caucus guy. And it's up to the people in Easley and Powdersville to come out and support Thomas Beach and put him back in office. The same thing with Adam Morgan. It's a bittersweet thing with Adam Morgan. We need him in D.C. We need more like Adam Morgan in D.C., but we also
don't want to lose him. Yeah,
don't want to lose him. Don't want to lose him. And so you've got to find somebody that's going to be just as conservative and just as transparent and just as hardcore conservative as Adam Morgan has been. We've got a good constitutional sheriff in Greenville, Hobart Lewis. He's turned that agency around from where it once was. It is the morale is great. The division of the path that the sheriff's office has gone on, they've cracked a lot of cold cases. They've the technology, the update of equipment is great. He's basically turned around, and he's a working sheriff. He's an active sheriff. He doesn't delegate a lot of authority. He shows up on scenes. He's a part of calls, and he still is able to go out and campaign or be at functions and do his thing, and be accessible to the people. He was way more accessible than the last couple of sheriffs that I can think of in the end years. I know Johnny Mack had been sheriff for a long time, but with the sheriff before him, Steve Loftus and Will Lewis.
Well, let me ask this question.
Yeah.
Been around Greenville a long time.
Right.
What do you think the cure for this is? Because you have this massive division. If we stay on this track, we know we're going to put ourselves in a very vulnerable position with the Democrats. What do you see as a cure? Is there a leader coming up in the party to unite, or do you think that we just have to go to these precincts, take them over, and kick these people out? What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's a trifold. I think the number one thing that's going to help here in Greenville, Pickens, or anywhere in the state of South Carolina or across this country, you got to have engaged citizens. You can't be a fly by night low information voter. You've got to be able to understand. To me, if I was an EC that was, just became an EC in the Greenville County Republican Party, and I found out that what was getting ready to be my chair had this kind of background and only lived in South Carolina for such a short time, I'm not voting for her. Not to saying that she can't prove herself, but that's not where I'm throwing the keys to, because I'm not sure. I'm not going to be, that's a big red flag. That's what we call a red flag.
Yeah, so, in 5 years you make that choice, but yeah, we need to see. You got to be tested.
You got to be tested, and you got to do more than what you've done.
Yep.
You know,
And if you really are that, you got no problem with that.
right.
You know what I mean? Like if, like for instance, like the woman out of the MySCGOP, all she had to do is, like you said, come in and say, "This is what I did. This is who I voted for. This is who I gave money to. I'm not running for nothing. I just want to. I'm a Republican now. I want to join the party and stuff. So I'm just going to sit back. Hopefully, I can be some help to y'all. Do what y'all do."
Well, here's another thing.
earn your stripes.
There has not been one time that I've heard a statement come out saying she regretted what she did in California.
Because she don't.
She doesn't. You're right.
Because if you did, you would regret it.
Right.
Like, and you would come out and say it. The reason they don't see, look,
You'd come out and say, "This is where we went wrong."
yeah, and here's the thing: they will never do that. They won't do that in Pickens County. They won't do that in Greenville County. They're not going to do that anywhere these people are, because that means they got to admit fault. That means they got to come in and take responsibility and say, "Hey, look, I Jeff Davis, knew she was a Democrat.
Right.
I should have said, look, no, you don't need to run just yet. Come in here, prove yourself as a Republican in the Republican Party. We'll start, you can help in some other way or whatever. In a couple of years, we'll revisit this. Let's just see what happens." Like, there's a million ways you could have done this
Right.
the right way.
Right.
Besides deceiving the voters, but that's all they know how to do. All these guys know how to do is deceive voters, and because they know if we can just create a good story, like, oh, the last administration guy, the last mayor, he stole money. If we can just create a narrative of, oh, the guy running with me, oh, well, look, he votes yes on everything. Like, instead of getting context of what's going on or whatever, or allowing them to actually speak. That's another thing, is that some of these places don't allow all candidates to speak at their meetings that are running. And so the party only hears from one person, and that's the person that they stand up and say, "This is who we're throwing our support behind."
Well, it's not the party's job to pick the candidate for you.
Thank you.
It's the party's job to make sure candidates that file to run as Republican adhere to the party platform. It's the constituents, it's the ECs, it's the voters. That's their job to pick the candidate. It's their job to decide who's going to lead the party, and it's their job to decide in the primary. This is why primaries are so important. If you don't vote in a primary, basically you're voting in November for a candidate someone else picked. You got to vote in the primaries. Primaries should be just as well attended, if not more attended, than the general election. Exercise your constitutional right. You've got to go to these primaries and pick the candidates, or otherwise you're being swindled. These candidates are being picked by underhanded means in June.
Backdoor deals.
Backdoor, yeah.
Yes.
And so it's dirty politics. But when you go into the Republican Party or you go to look at a candidate, research these candidates. It's your responsibility. Don't go into a Republican Party looking to be led, because you're going to be disappointed.
That's good. I like that. That's good.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, our time is slipping on. Sam, let me say it's a pleasure seeing you again. Appreciate you being on our show. Want to get you back sometime. I know our listeners would love to hear more about what's going on in Greenville. Jordan, appreciate you being on the show.
Absolutely.
Give our listeners a flag on where to go to find us.
Hey, so guys, you can check us out on Mondays on Big Patriot Radio at 7 p.m. And if you miss it, it's okay, because we got an encore at 9 o'clock on Big Patriot Radio. That's Mondays at 7 p.m. And if you miss it, like I said, it's okay. We're back on at 9 o'clock on Big Patriot Radio, so 7 or 9 on Mondays. Also, check us out on Facebook, Twitter, all of that stuff, all that fun stuff. Don't forget, comment, like, share, and follow. Guys, this is so important. Y'all are killing it with us. We're right here. We're right here with y'all. Keep it up. Keep it up. Thank you. Comment, like, share, and follow. And please, 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 please say a prayer for Greenville and Pickens County. Look, this place is turning into a crap show. We got to get something here. We got to get something together. We got to unify somehow, some way. So that's all I got. So God bless, and God bless Pickens and Greenville County, because we sure gonna need them.
Sam, once again, thank you for being on our show. Folks, thank you for tuning in today. We'll see you next week. God bless you, and have a great day.